Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Mindful Marathon Conversations. I am your host, Dr. Michelle Quirk. I am a pediatrician and a run coach and the founder of Mindful Marathon, where I help make running easy and fun for busy professionals. And I have a treat for you today. I am so honored to be introducing my guest, Dr. Nneka Unachukwu. Dr. Una to all of us who know her and love her. She is a pediatrician, serial entrepreneur, wife, mother, and runner. She is the founder and medical director of Ivy League Pediatrics, her private practice in Georgia, the host of the EntreMD podcast, and the founder of the EntreMD Business School. Her mission is to help physicians build profitable businesses so that they can live life and practice medicine on their own terms. Welcome to the show, Dr. Una.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful introduction. I'm going to save that. Thank you.
I'm very thrilled to talk to you. So let's start. I know that you love to walk. You love to walk in nature. Can you tell us how you got started with that and maybe how that led into running?
Well, I think I've always loved being out in nature. It's a weird thing. I still remember as a little kid, we lived on, I want to say about 10 acres of land or so. And I would always be outside. I'm outside, I'm staring at the trees, I'm looking at the sky, looking at the cloud formation and all of that. And it's something really relaxing for me. Like if I'm stressed out, I open the door and walk out. So it's something I always did as far as I can remember, right? Now, as far as running goes, when I was in high school, I did some running. I did the 100 meters, 200 meters, and 400 meters. I was never a really good runner, but at least I wasn't the eighth, right? Like, so, so I did run. I did some running, but it wasn't something I was really good at. But I think it's something I always wanted to do. So even though I was a walker, every so often I'll play around with, trying to run and all that. And I'm like, I'm just not a runner, which made me really excited when I met you, right? Like virtually online. And she's like, I make running easy for, I'm like, who is she? I like what she does. And she's like, run between the mailboxes. I'm like, I cannot do a lot of running, but I can do that. And so I've embraced running at different levels, but I've always wanted to be better at it. So walking, I really do for relaxation. It has nothing to do with exercise. Exercise is just a byproduct, really. It's my stress. It's my method of stress management. And because I'm alone, then I can go into really deep thought and really innovate and, be creative and stuff like that. So it's a fun thing for me.
Yeah. And I think that's what running is for me now as well. So it's for both. It's for exercise, but I can also get into that creative space now. So I don't know, maybe that's in your future, Dr. Una.
Maybe. I will love it. I will love it. That's why I follow you everywhere. I work with you. I do all the things because I'm like, I want running to be easy because it's still a little bit of work. I'm not as relaxed, right? Yeah. So I still enjoy being outdoors and all that. But because I'm working at it, I don't get to switch off my body and turn on my brain, if that makes sense, which is what I do with walking. Yeah.
And you named the mailbox technique because I've used that now. I've gotten a lot of people to do that when they tell me they can't do it. And I say, well, can you just run between the mailboxes? And then people say, well, do you mean in like New York City mailboxes or like on a country road mailboxes?
Okay. You might need to be specific.
In between. Oh my goodness. So I was thinking we could chat a little bit. So you're a business coach, and I have found, being a member of the EntreMD Business School, that a lot of things I learned in running translate well into business and vice versa. And I imagine we have some of the same things, but I wanted to hear your thoughts about maybe things you learned along the way building your business that translate into running or for people just getting started. I think there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah, I think so too, right? It's kind of like the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. You can kind of learn and, take them to different aspects of your life. I think one of the biggest ones is, being comfortable taking baby steps. When you start at least for me, you start off as an entrepreneur. I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship. And it can be very overwhelming because the things you don't know are like everything, right?
Mhm.
And everything's scary and all of that. But the best entrepreneurs are the people who are like, okay, all of this is scary, but these are my three next steps. I can't do everything, but I can do these three, right?
Mhm.
And so when it comes to running, it's really the same thing. So I may watch the Olympics and go like, okay, or I can watch someone else who's an established runner and be overwhelmed or be intimidated. Or I can just say, you know what? Yesterday I did no running. And today I was able to run for 2 minutes. And
Mhm.
this is great. Right. And so just taking those baby steps, it's amazing the amount of progress you can get from doing that. And
Yeah.
also the whole concept of progress over perfection, right? Perfection is just a thief, right? It's a thief of your dreams. It's a thief. I mean, like, it's kind of like just do it. You know what I mean? Do it excellently, which means the best you can do with the resources you have at the time, right? And that's
Mhm.
what I learned with entrepreneurship, because if I'm waiting to have the best office, I will never open a private practice. If I'm waiting to have the best program, I will never start helping people in my business. If I'm waiting to put off an event that looks like Tony Robbins event, I will never host an event.
Yeah.
But if I can do it excellently, I can do the absolute best with the knowledge, the resources, the finances I have right now. That is progress, and that is great. That's the real perfection. And so with running, it's the same thing, right? Because I could have a training program and I'm like, I should follow it to the letter, especially we physicians, right? So I can get an A plus. But if I messed up or I missed sometimes or all of that, can I do better? Right? Can I do better today than I did yesterday? What's the best I can do today? Because guess what? Crying or being sad about what I didn't do is not going to get me anywhere. Doing something today, even though I may have messed up the day before and the day before that, I'm making progress, right? And
Yeah.
so those are two things. I think the third thing is with entrepreneurship, I did learn magical thinking, right? And magical thinking, right? Because that's what entrepreneurship really, you're a visionary who sees something that does not exist and then you create it. That's what entrepreneurship is all about. I remember EntreMD being an idea. And how do you go from an idea to a live event, to a podcast, to a big Facebook group, to a business school, to a book, right? It's magical thinking. And you dream it and you create it. You dream it and create it. And for running, I've had to apply that where I'm like, I'm not a runner, I'm not a runner. I'm like, okay, you're gonna need to see a new picture, right? You're gonna need you're gonna need to see a new picture, you the runner, and then make it happen. You know what I mean? And so I've applied a little bit. I did that with water too. So I'm telling about myself. Oh
With
my
water?
gosh, on the World Wide Web. Yeah, because I was not a water drinker.
Oh,
Like
oh, okay.
people are like, here, do you want some water? I'm like, I don't drink
No.
that. Like a physician, right? I don't drink, I don't drink that. You're supposed to drink water. I get it through my fruits and veggies. Okay. I do not drink water. And one day I was like, but that's ridiculous though. What do you mean? You mean you don't have a mouth? You mean like water can't go down your esophagus? Like what when you say you can't drink water, what exactly do you mean? And so I got like I think 2 bottles or something and just drank it. Like apparently you can, right? And now I drink water. And this happened last year. I'm not saying this is something that happened a long time ago. This happened last year. I was like, what do you mean by you can't? Right? Like if I say I can't walk, what does that mean? You have 2 legs, they move. What do you mean by you can't walk? And so I started applying that, right? So I just like, you're a water drinker now, and now I drink water. So those are some of the things I've applied there. The concepts are the same. It's so fun
Yeah.
how
Yeah. They overlap. No, I love that. I love the taking baby steps and seeing seeing a new picture. I think for a long time, I mean, you know my story, but I didn't see myself as a runner, even after, I don't know at what point did I decide that I was one? How many 5Ks did I run? After I crossed the half marathon finish line, I was still thinking, oh, I'm not a real runner. I haven't run a marathon, but I kept moving the mark along the way.
Yeah, and our minds will play tricks with us. Sometimes it's funny that you would mention that. Sometimes I actually have to stop myself and say, okay, I know that your life has changed, but your mind hasn't caught up to the change, right? So it's kind of like I'm not a runner, but you're running, but I'm not a runner, right? And you have to stop and say, okay, you need to start thinking differently because you have actually changed.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah.
actually changed. It's crazy how our minds play tricks on us, and it's the same with entrepreneurship. Like, I'm not a good business owner. You have a 7-figure business. I'm not clear on what you're talking about, right? It's just that we've had that identity for so long that you have to actually stop and tell have a come to Jesus meeting with yourself and say, okay, things have changed here. We have to start thinking differently.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's true. And I think the same is true. When I had the idea to do the virtual race last year, I didn't see myself as a race director necessarily. I mean, I had dreamed about this a little bit, and the pandemic kind of put put the brakes on in terms of an in-person race. But if we just adjust the thinking a little bit, I made it happen, and we're going to do it again. So
Yes. And you are my favorite race director. Okay. You are I'm so glad. You know how glad I was like, yes, she's doing it. Because those of us who are not in Pennsylvania with you, in Philadelphia with you, get to experience all the goodness. We get to be part of it. My whole team was there. We
yes.
did it together. Yeah. And my
And
kids.
yeah, you and
Yeah.
your kids and Makita, and they were medal models for me.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm so glad you did that. I'm so glad you're doing it again.
Me too. But I will get down to Georgia for an in-person race at some point, which we can do together.
That would be so good. I'm all game. I'll train extra hard for that one because
Yeah.
then I have to show up in a certain way with the run coach boss.
Just show up as you are, and we'll get the whole team to do it too. It'll be fun.
Yep.
Well, so I wanted to share with everyone. So Dr. Una, she always shares lots of gems. I was taking notes here while you were talking, so I can write this up later. But she has a book coming out soon, and I want her to share this with all of us because it's going to help so many people. So tell us about your book.
I am so excited about this book. So excited. Now, the book is called the EntreMD Method. And the reason why I wrote it is because as physicians, we did not get a business education. Okay. Which, when I think about it, I think this is really fascinating that we studied for over a decade to become doctors, went into multiple 6-figure debt, and we learned nothing about money or business. I think it's interesting. We should change that. But we don't have a business education. And the medical landscape has changed such that healthcare is a business, right? And we have to compete, and we're not equipped to compete, right? And most of us don't have 2 years to go back to do an MBA. Most of us are like, excuse me, I already have the $250,000. I'm not trying to take another 120 to get an MBA, right? And I'm like, what is the fastest way to make that transition from I'm a doctor, I don't know anything about business, to I feel confident that I can build a profitable business? How can I equip doctors to do that? And, I have the podcast, I have the business school and all this, but that really my heart's desire is that every physician has a business education. And I was like, what if I could put this business education in 135 pages and they can pay $15 for it and we're square, right? and so that's the reason why I wrote the book. Okay. And the book is set up like a roadmap. So we talk about the current state of things in medicine. We talk about the mindset shifts that have to happen, the habits we need to adopt, and then the nitty gritty. How do I go from idea to household name? Like idea to everybody knows about me, what I do. I have my clients or patients and all of that stuff. And it's not really about leaving medicine or anything like that. I'm a firm believer that we followed a protocol for so long that when it comes to entrepreneurship, we get to choose what we want to do. So whether you want to work your job, whether you want to build a personal brand, private practice, coaching, product, whatever that is, this is the book for you. If you're a startup or you're already multiple seven figures, this is still the book for you. And for everyone who's like, man, I need to get this book, what I really tell everybody is, get the book, learn the concepts, be an example, but most importantly, share it with another doctor in your life, because there's a million of us, and many have no, they're like, I don't know what this could look like. They're not a lot of examples. Well, we can be examples and we can share the message, because this is something that is really needed. We have 78% of doctors saying that they would not recommend somebody else goes into medicine. That's 780,000 people, healers, telling other people not to be healers, right? And it's not
Yeah.
because they don't love medicine, it's just the system and everything that's going on. If we can empower them when they're now in charge of their own careers, then we can literally save medicine.
Yeah. Yeah. And you say all the time, the answer is not for all of the doctors to leave, right?
It's not, no, it's not the answer. We need the doctors to stay, but they are not going to stay under the current circumstances. They are
Yeah.
not. And if they can be empowered to be in control, they can stay. If they can be empowered to be in control, they can build their own tables, whichever version they want, right?
Yeah.
Like what you do as a pediatrician, that's healthcare. But what you do as a run coach is healthcare too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're doing that, and you do it on a bigger scale and all of that stuff. I mean, to you know, there's a health crisis going on, and lack of exercise is a big problem. And running works for your physical health, it works for your mental health, it works for your emotional health, because you're building community and all of this. It's amazing.
Mhm.
And so if you're empowered to do this the way you want on a bigger scale, it's a whole movement and all of that. Guess what we're doing? We're being the healers we're supposed to be. So it could
Yeah.
be in the exam room, it can be outside of the exam room, but that vehicle of entrepreneurship, we need to understand that. We do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. And I think for me, running helped me so much with burnout. I mean, time and time again, but I feel like I'm just, N of one. But now that I have coached a lot of physicians, running, it helps burnout. And so, I need to do a study on that maybe. So I
Yeah.
can show everyone the numbers.
Yeah. And the truth of the matter is, I'm glad you brought that up, is that when we talk about burnout, it's such a it's a multi-pronged approach to dealing with it, right? Like
Mhm.
for instance, I could call myself a burnout coach, right? Because
Yeah.
once you're in control, like in EntreMD, I have never worked
Yeah.
because I love what I do, right? I
Yeah.
love what I do. So I can work hard and it's okay. And it's all that stuff. If we were in systems that took better care of us, that valued us better, right? And stuff like that, we physicians, we love what we do,
Yeah.
right? It's just the loss of autonomy, the death by 1,000 clicks, how devalued we are in the workplace. That's all the stuff that makes it, we love what we do,
Yeah.
you know? And so, yeah, you do fix burnout.
Yeah.
Part
Yeah.
of why I love what you do.
And now I can't really imagine. I mean, I can't imagine going back to how things were before. Now that I do both of these things, I'm a pediatrician and I'm a run coach, and that's who I am. It's not like an either or situation. And it took me a long time to wrap my brain around that, but that's who I am, and that's what I'm doing. And and people at work have noticed too. I mean, that's the thing. The change trickles down, starting with each of us. So
Yeah.
we're setting the example.
We are setting the example, and you're
Yeah.
setting a really good one. I love it.
And I mean, you are too.
I'm
And
trying.
we're so thankful for everything that you do. We're thankful for the podcast and the business school, but the book will definitely reach a lot of people, and so everyone needs to go get their hands on a copy.
Absolutely. Get a copy for a doc in your life. If you're not a physician, buy a copy for your doctor.
Yeah.
Time I watched this interview, listen to these two doctors. I think you should check this out, because you never know. That may be
Mhm.
the reason you still have a doctor the following year.
So true. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Oh my goodness. Well, can you tell the audience where they can find you if they want to send a message and buy the book?
And by the book, everything will be on the website, entremd.com. So ENTREMD.com. And if you go there, you can get your copy of the book. You can actually get the first chapter for free. Check it out. And then if you're a physician, we have a Facebook group you can join. There's a podcast. The podcast, Dr. Michelle will tell you, there's no fluff. It's not like the
It's so
extra
good.
stuff. It's like my best stuff, right? It's like an MBA to go. Someone's like, yeah, just, you can take Dr. Una with you anywhere you go. She can coach you all day. Just put the podcast in, put your earbuds in and put the podcast on. And so you really want to check it out, subscribe to that. And twice a week, I'll be there to keep you motivated and give you action steps you can use to move your business forward.
I love that it comes out on Monday morning too. So like I start the week with that going into work. So it's perfect.
I love it.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Dr. Una, and thank you for sharing all of your wisdom with us. And I can't wait to finish the book. I started it. I'm not done yet.
I love it. And you guys should check out the book because Dr. Michelle is in the book. She features in the book. But thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate this. And thank you really for what you do, because it's so important. There are a lot of people like me who are still working on our magical thinking, being runners, and you help us. And the fact that you have a story where, you're not like, I started running at 5 and I've always been great. I don't know what your problem is. The fact that you're also like, this was my struggle and I overcame it, makes it seem so attainable for people like us who are like, I don't know if I'm a runner. So thank you for what you do.
Oh, my pleasure and honor. Thank you. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.